I want to show you how to make viral content that you actually enjoy. Because as a content creator, let's be real, we've always faced this challenge. Should I make content that's gonna go viral? Should I make content that I enjoy? Or should I make content that makes money? Finding the trifecta where all three of those match is a very rare thing. And today I'm gonna show you a framework that I've built that can guarantee you find that trifecta, that perfect piece of content that always hits all three. We're gonna do that in the next few minutes. And hey, if you don't know who I am, I'm Kazi. I've previously built a business called Clever Programmer to over 1 million subscribers on YouTube and generated over $5 million with content and selling courses. And now me and Naz have founded Poppy, and we've built a software company where we meet thousands of content creators just like you and learn what the best strategies are. So I want to take years of knowledge and knowledge from thousands of creators and feed it to you to make that perfect piece of content that's enjoyable, that makes money, that goes viral in the next few minutes. Let's do this. After years of making content that I found enjoyable, or making content that like I did not enjoy at all, but I just made it literally to go viral, I'm honestly sick of that now. I will not make content that I will not genuinely enjoy at this point. I've published thousands of videos, I've gone live thousands of times, and I've made a ton of reels and grew Instagram to over 150,000 followers, grew TikTok to almost 100,000 followers, grew an email list to over 400,000 subscribers. But what I've learned is it's very, at this point, trying to force more out of me, I am just exhausted. So my number one criteria now, honestly, that I start off with is enjoyment. So let's actually build our first circle here, and I'm just gonna call this enjoyment, okay? So the first thing I care about is the idea actually enjoyable? So one of the examples and recent things that I'm thinking about that I would absolutely love is overcoming my fear of water, fear of swimming. That is something meaningful to me, and that is something that'll make me feel alive, very excited. But that is something that, I might put in enjoyment. And if I put it at the bottom here, that means I enjoy it less. If I put it at the top, that means I enjoy it a lot. Next up, the thing I care about is what's something that brings value to my audience, okay? So basically we're looking for is this valuable to my audience? So I'm gonna, please ignore my circles and shit. My drawings are always dumb. So value for audience. And then the third thing that I care about is, does this make me money? So we're gonna make another circle, and this circle is gonna be for money. Because at the end of the day, a lot of us want to live, want to make money, and want to quit our jobs so we can actually do this full time and eventually even turn it into a business and then scale it and whatnot, right? I'm very fucking ambitious. I want Poppy to be a $1 billion company. I am not happy with making $10,000 or $50,000 per month, but some people are, and lifestyle businesses are totally fine, but you just have to know where you are. Now within this category, right? If I have swimming is not something that's going to bring value to my audience, for Poppy, for example. And swimming is not something that's gonna make me money, okay? So it's not really relevant to anything, but I just know that in terms of my content that I wanna make, this feels really damn good and it would be fun to make, but I know it won't do any of these other things. Let's say I was coming up with a couple of other ideas. Let's say, okay, what about like this VO3 AI model that's out? That would be something that if I covered it, could bring value to the Poppy audience, okay? And so that might be something valuable because a lot of people wanna know, how does video AI generation work? Can we use VO3 to make ads? Can we use it to make short form content, long form content? I mean, can we use this to make a video course? So I know that the value to the Poppy audience could be really high for this. Now I have to also ask myself, is this something that's actually enjoyable? Because that's my number one most important criteria. And for me, this video will actually be quite enjoyable because, and I'm gonna put these things down here. So for me, the subjective things that I really care about are things like novelty. How new is this for me? Have I done something like this before? If I haven't, absolutely amazing. Another criteria I have is this fresh? Is this something recent that I'm looking into just now? Or is this some stale information? So I'll give you an example, okay? Let's say I learned about VO3. But then I talked about it, but then like my editor was like 3 weeks after I learned about it and researched about it, was like, okay, yeah, let's now sit down and let's shoot the video. So Nico, he's like helping us run, essentially, is our head of video marketing. So if I'm sitting with Nico and I'm like, hey, I'm really excited about it, but let's say he waits 3 weeks. Now, do you think for me this is fresh information or is this stale information? It's pretty stale at this point. So what's gonna happen is this same information, I'm not gonna be that excited to talk about it. The enjoyment score of that is gonna go really, really, really low. And since the enjoyment is the most important criteria, in my opinion, like if you're making content, I mean, you have to enjoy it because you're not gonna do it over a long period of time. And trust me, I've done content that I haven't enjoyed for 8 to 10 years. I mean, you can do it for many, many years, but after that, you're gonna be like, fuck this, I'd rather do anything else, right? But if I got to do it live and react to VO3 live as Nico was recording me, that would be the absolute best because it's completely fresh, it's novel, I'm actually enjoying it and reacting to it. That would be great. So VO3 would be something that I would think that brings value to my audience, is enjoyable. And in terms of money, how this could be something that makes money for me specifically for the Poppy, for Poppy is if we were to see that it would be a good feature and we could launch it in our app and upsell our customers to buy VO3. Be like, hey, this is available and you can pay extra to use it because this is gonna be an expensive technology, right? Because it has AI. So this definitely checks the box on money, checks the box on enjoyment, checks the box on value for my audience. So I would put this in this holy trifecta right over here. Now let's take something like me talking about, so here's another idea that Nico threw at me. And this was a pretty good idea, but let's break it down and let's see where this idea ranks. So he's like, hey, why don't you shoot a video talking about ads, how you can create ads with Poppy? And he's like, it will have really good value for the Poppy audience. This is definitely something that can be a money maker. And I agree with him. It's high on money and it's very high on value to my audience. But because I've talked about this so many times, it's not exciting for me. So I'm gonna write down some other criteria that's important for me that might be important for you. So I like to be able to think deeply about about what I'm talking about. I like to be basically, think of it like challenged in my brain. I'm neurodivergent and I'm a deep thinker. And so if I'm allowed to go deep into my thoughts, I enjoy that a lot. Another one that anything that's philosophical or like has frameworks, things that have frameworks, I love those things. So I'm just putting that here for just like my criteria and my reasoning for things, for enjoyment. And those things are huge for me. Another thing that I really love to have is data as well. So if it has numbers or data or whatever, I mean, I got a fucking huge boner for that shit. I love that stuff. So if I go right here, when in my swimming video, one of the things that personally excites me is I want to objectively measure fear. And I think fear is like a definition I kind of came up with of fear myself is like, it's a heightened heart rate during non-exercise activity. So for example, if you're working out, your heart rate goes super high. That's not really because you're scared, that's just because you're exerting a lot of energy. But if you're sitting down and all of a sudden you see a snake right next to you, your heart rate shoots up, that's not exercise, that's fear. You're about to speak in front of a stage, that's not exercise, your heart rate going up and you getting sweaty and nervous is fear. Same with swimming, that's fear. So that's something that I want to objectively track down and every single time track my heart rate during each swim session and eventually see it go from 160 beats per minute to 155 beats per minute to 150 beats per minute to like 140, 130, 120. Eventually, once my heart rate is 70 beats per minute, let's just say that's my resting heart rate, well then by definition, I will have beaten my fear because it is not a heightened heart rate anymore in the water, especially if I'm not exerting myself really hard. I'm just trying to chill and float and relax. That would be my goal of what I would want to accomplish. And it's a very meaningful video for me because I'm a data nerd and I'm very objective. And what I noticed is that there's no content or a framework for going from fear to no fear. People just go, oh, you're afraid. Okay, now just jump in the fucking ocean and you're gonna overcome your fear. Or jump in like a 10-foot water and you'll overcome your fear. And I thought that would be something amazing that if I objectively measured it, other people could then recreate that and overcome that fear. So it just personally means a lot to me. I enjoy it. That's why swimming is high, right? It has data, it has novelty, it has kind of some philosophical thoughts and frameworks of how to objectively overcome fear. fear that could be applied in cross-domain, like different industries. That's what excites me about it, right? Now, going back to this ads topic that we were talking about, well, see, the thing with this video, Nico came up with this idea. He's like, hey, what if you made ads and showed people how to make ads with Poppy that are printing you money? Great value to audience, great amount of money it could make us. But because I've talked about this topic and I've covered it so many times and I've told this to so many people that it's literally like, it's so stale for me. When you have sparkling water that you leave out for like 10 days, or you have Coca-Cola and you leave it out for 10 days and then you go to drink it, that's what that feels like if I were to talk about this idea. Not a fun feeling. Because of that, it will go in the Holy Trinity, except it will go all the way down here because on enjoyment, right? Like if I were to score this, right, this thing, on enjoyment, my enjoyment for the ads would be, let's just say like a 1. But value to audience is like a 9, and the money it could make is a 9. So it has like really high numbers. But let's say if we just average this out, I'm ballparking it, I'm not doing like actual accurate math. Let's just say, and because enjoyment weighs the most out of everything, like this would actually have a score of like 5, this video, in my opinion. Whereas VO3 would be a video that might have a score of like, let's just say 10 or a 9. That's just an example, okay? And actually it'll probably be like a 9. And something personally that I would love to talk about, which is actually what I'm talking about right now, is the content qualifier framework. So if we actually, for this idea that we have, this, when I was doing this earlier, I would rate this like a straight up 10. And I think that for you to understand my reasoning would be kind of easy. And actually, even if it doesn't go in the money section, like let's just say it's something that is a good qualifier framework, we will maybe give it a 9.5 because it doesn't make us a lot of money, but it has high value for the audience because everybody that uses Poppy is like a content creator, or most people are, let's just say, if not everybody. And when I say content creator, look, you could be doing Facebook ads or running an agency. You're still making content, so you're a content creator. If you're a CEO building a personal brand, you're a content creator. Doesn't mean you have to be a full-time YouTuber or social media person, okay? And then when it comes to enjoyment, well, I enjoy it a lot because it checks almost all of my boxes. It's novel, it's fresh because I literally just came up with this idea yesterday and now we're shooting it today. It allows me to think deeply and kind of go into like, philosophy and framework. So like it checks all of those. And then it even has data, right? So if you really wanted to get nerdy with it, you could look into this, outside of this. I won't go too much into it, but it's literally the concept called like weighted decision matrices, like matrix. And you can put this in a Google sheet and like literally give each column a score, your value and your money and your enjoyment, and teach it how to like rank it. Or you can just tell AI, right? And you can just say, hey, enjoyment is weighed like the most, like 2x weight, and then value and money has like a 1x weight. And then when you put these things, like what you think the value to your audience would be out of 1 out of 10, how much money you think it can make you from 1 out of 10, and how much enjoyment you might have 1 out of 10. If you put that idea, it'll be able to rank it across like 50 other ideas. And so, I think where this framework could be useful to you is if you come up with 50 ideas or 100 ideas or 10 ideas for videos, oftentimes you'll feel that pain of like, this is viral, but like I would freaking hate talking about this. Like if I were to do a video like top 10 AI tools or something like that, sure, that could go viral, but man, I would hate talking about that. I don't want to talk about it. So then I'm like, okay, can't do this idea, can't do this other idea. But if you had something where you could give it 50 or 100 ideas and then it just sorts them for you in like a descending order of the ideas, the top are like the ones that meet this holy trifecta of content. So if you have something that meets this holy trifecta, perfect. That's gonna have like the highest score, right? And then things that don't meet it will have a lower score. And then once you can teach this to AI, like literally you can take an image of this for yourself. That's what I did. I'll actually show you. I've actually took this and I've given this to Poppy, and Poppy understands now what kind of content I want to make. So you can actually build your own, and you can literally build it with a Venn diagram on a piece of paper, okay? You don't need a fancy tool that like I'm using. You can take a pen or a pencil or anything, or some whiteboard app online, build these 3 circles and put ideas that you would like and where you think those would go. So put ideas that would be valuable for your audience, put ideas that are purely enjoyable for you, put ideas that you think can purely make you money, and then you could put ideas that are good that meet essentially the holy trifecta, or you can make content that aligns with 2 of the other ones, right? Like this meets valued audience and enjoyment. And you can put it into Poppy, and Poppy will then understand, AI will then understand and give you new content ideas and tell you how to rate each of them. So I'll give you an example now. So for example, okay, so go ahead, you can take a look at this right here. Ignore my conversation that's ongoing. But Poppy can rate my video ideas for me, and it literally rates them perfectly now. So for top 5 programming languages, it knows I would borderline vomit doing this video. It's right, because I've done it so many freaking times, I don't want to do it anymore. Ad hooks video, it gives it a 4 out of 10. It knows I don't want to do that video anymore because I've already talked about it. This video, I've talked about it so many times. But like social anxiety videos, those I would love to do. Like going up to strangers and talking to them and kind of overcoming your fear of that. That is something that's exciting. It taps into fear, it's challenging, and then I can use data to like drop my fear, and so it's like exciting. Any new feature that we've launched at Poppy, that's something really exciting to talk about. I would enjoy talking about that a ton. And the way that I taught it, you can do the same thing. One thing you can do is just pop in this YouTube video. So what I did is I put in a transcript of what I'm talking about right now. I had a meeting with Nico earlier before I shot this video, and I just took that entire transcript and put it in here. So you don't have to do that because you'll have this YouTube video. So instead of this, you can just put my YouTube video, copy and paste it here, okay? And then you can give it this Venn diagram. So you can just give it this diagram, but for you, what content you enjoy, what content would be a 10 out of 10 for you, what content would be, in the middle, in the holy trifecta, what content would go into the double trouble. So you got the holy trifecta, you got the double trouble content, and then you got the single content, okay? That'll either be just value or just enjoyment or just money, okay? So because I've given Poppy this diagram, this image, and then you would just take the image and put it in here, and I've given it that. Based off of that, Poppy can rank the ideas for me. So when I give it an idea, if I go down, it will rank them for me. So like I'm like, okay, for a swimming video, what would you rank it? And it goes 9 out of 10, and it explains why. So it literally has a way of thinking. And if you had a team member, now because they know the framework your brain thinks from, they could literally make like 20 new ideas for you. Now imagine you did a voice recording and just gave Poppy, 5 or 10 things you hate in your niche that other competitors do. You gave it your story of how you came up, like you were broke at this point, then you did this, then you blew up, then you made money, then you XYZ, whatever, right? If you gave Poppy a bunch of stuff about you inside of this group right here, it could come up with so many ideas for you, and somebody from your team or you yourself could use it to come up with so many new incredible ideas. It's like an absolute game changer. So I would highly recommend you try it, and then let me know what you think about this holy trifecta content framework. Maybe you have a better title for it, you can let me know. But yeah, comment in the video below if this was valuable, or like what specifically was the biggest aha moment for you. I'd love to know, because I want to make more content for you. And even if you're just like, honestly, if I just get even one person's comment, because it's a small channel right now and I read those, and so even if you're just like one person reading this and have made it to this far, holy shit, like thank you. It means the absolute world. And if you left a comment, that would be unbelievable, because I can use that feedback and then go in and make the next video. It's so super motivating for me. Hopefully this was valuable and gives you ideas for how to think through content framework. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna jump into the next part of this, which is gonna be how to think about the priority of, what's the most important thing. So this was the content part that I gave you, but now I wanna give you the philosophy around what's the right order of priority when you're working, because people often think it's hard work, but it's not. So I wanna explain to you what the right order of priority is, and later this is going to blow your mind, because you can apply this framework not to just your entire freaking life, but to content as well. And this will explain exactly how to prioritize which types of content first, how valuable ideas are compared to actually the time you spend on editing, and it will shift the way you have beliefs around content, editing, and a whole lot more. So please watch this part, because it's gonna be one of the best parts. So the thing that's actually the most important is, hard work. How important do you think hard work is? Do you think hard work is the most important thing, or are there other things that are more important than hard work? Okay, being smart. What other things are more important than hard work?
Being competent,
Being competent, okay, competent. Like actually having good skills. So great, here's what I'll tell you. Naval Ravikant put it in a beautiful way. And he said, the number one most important thing when it comes to success in life, above hard work, is what you work on. This is the number one most important thing, okay? That determines like almost all of your fucking success. You can work hard as fuck working for a company or like an idea that's just like nobody likes, nobody wants, has no customers, will get no customers. Your videos will always get like no views, and that it will determine the career of your videos, for example, let's just say, right? The second most important thing is actually who you work with. So the thing that you said, smart, is amazing. So you have to be smart to decide what you work on. You have to be really smart to decide who you work with. And then the third most important thing is actually hard work. That's the category he puts it in. That's actually the ultimate way of like ranking it. And I actually agree with this framework. And you can apply, you can see if you can try to break this framework in really any field. So for example, if you think of relationships, right? Exactly. Like you could work so fucking hard to save the relationship and fix it and go to therapy and literally everything on the planet and live in nightmare mode and maybe make it work, or like it'll still end. But if you choose who you work with, as in who's your partner, that's more important than you working hard, because then you might actually have a relationship that's just easy. You might not even need to work that hard and just kill it. Why does a construction worker make significantly less than Poppy does? Poppy is like fucking, none of us have to do anywhere nearly that much work. We make $400,000 a month, and that construction worker that's laying bricks or in a coal mine, it's like killing themselves, endangering themselves, working way harder, 18 hours a day physically, make fraction of that amount. So clearly it can't be hard work, right? And then in a relationship, it's like who you pick. And then the what you work on can be the partner that you pick. Maybe you guys have a dream of what you work on, meaning maybe your dream with your partner is to build a family.
Yeah, like the goal of the relationship.
Goal of the relationship is more important than even the relationship itself. Because even if you pick the right person, but none of you had a goal or completely opposite goals, that shit would not work. What you work on actually has the highest leverage. So let's take content and let's apply this framework to content, okay? What's the definition of hard work? So for example, video editing. Would that be what you work on, who you work with, or hard work? Which category would that be in terms of? That's hard work. Does hard work have the most leverage or the least leverage? Least leverage, okay? Now, let's say you pick the right editors to fucking make the whatever. Is that what you work on, who you work with, or hard work? Deciding the team, the content team.
Who you work with.
That's the who you work with, right? So that has a lot of leverage, and that has more leverage than hard work, because I can edit like crazy, but if I got you, you edit already better than me. So I don't actually have to do any work and I get amazing editing. And then when it comes to ideas, coming up with ideas and whatever, which one does that fall into? What you work on. So then would you agree that ideas, okay, let me ask you this. Would then in that case, ideas have the least leverage or the most leverage? Most leverage. So ideas are what you work on. And if that's not there, you're kind of fucked. Like if I came up with a video idea and I was like, why I'm frustrated. So within the editing itself, right? Adding graphics, adding sound effects, adding all of that, that's hard work. But deciding how to tell the story, that's kind of like what you work on. That has a way more leverage. For example, if you were like, hey Kazi, I have 2 hours or whatever, I can work on adding more sound effects or graphics, or I can work on like the storytelling. Bro, fucking storytelling. Like I have reels that has like almost 1 million+ views with almost zero fucking editing, and it was just storytelling. The storytelling is the most important thing, and you can actually you can deprioritize the graphics and sound effects and all of that by so much, and then you can hand that off to somebody else. So that's why if you start getting good at coming up with ideas, so the reason why I started the conversation about root problems, symptoms, somebody smokes, then they get cancer, you can solve and treat their cancer for the rest of their fucking life for the next 60 years, or you could just like stop them from smoking and solve the root problem, right? So it's better to solve the root problem. So instead of solving the problem of like editing, solve the problem at the root level, which is just help us come up with good ideas. But here's the weird thing. You personally, most likely, you're a hard worker, right?
Yeah, I would feel like, oh shit.
That's what I was gonna say. So this is an emotional thing too. If you actually, I know you're kind of archetype, and you can disagree with me, feel free to. If you just worked on what you worked on, ideas all day, you would feel like shit at the end of the day, like 1 out of 10, like you did nothing. You would feel like you're worthless. And so you are somebody who works tremendously hard, but here's the thing, you derive your value, your worth from that. So you will literally feel like shit if you just worked on ideas and if you didn't do hard work that day, right? So what happens, because you derive your value from that emotionally, that means that you will feel horrible at the end of the day. So you're like, what can I do to not feel horrible? I should work hard. Which is, by the way, an amazing thing. This is not a bad thing. Most people are nowhere near that, by the way. Because without it, you can't really get things done. Yeah, majority of my time is learning. I get like, on a day-to-day, I get nothing done. Like if you looked at day-to-day was, yeah, there's definitely stuff I'm getting done. But from my capacity of if I chose to work hard, it's like a 1 out of 10 of what I get done. Because I have a very strong capacity of working hard. So for example, I'll just give you one example. When I was shooting for sponsorships, I would shoot like actual recorded content, eCam, it would say recorded, 10 hours of shot footage each day, every day for like 2 to 3 months. Like the capacity I have of working is insane. You will not derive value, right? So then what you will continue to do is you will personally continue to do more and more hard work every single day. Not bad, but if you truly want leverage and you want like this to be able to be in a position where like you can make even way more money, let's say, and you can have people working under you that you're managing, yeah, then basically the second tier is who you work with, and then the tier above that is what you work on, and you have to go in that order. So for example, when you're poor, you have to do everything. So you gotta have the skill of hard work. You can never become unpoor without it, or it's very hard. You get lucky or some shit, right? So hard work is like needed. But now you have resources at your disposal. You can get other editors and stuff, so you can move to level 2. So you actually work, this is very interesting, you go from level 3 to 2, then to 1. You earn yourself. So level 2 is now you get a team. Now once you get a team and you can trust that team and whatever, now you can like personally move on to 1, what you work on. So this gives you a lot of liberty to decide, okay, cool, what should I work on? But eventually you have to prioritize the what over the who and the hard work. And usually what requires is a lot of things that don't look like work. So that is the thing.
Kind of like it's scary, you know?
That's scary because it feels like shit sometimes, you know, at the end of the day. No amount of hard work would have got me the idea of Poppy. It was like I was just kind of chilling and playing around and experimenting. And me and Nas both, you know, when we were coming up with this idea, like we were just kind of playing around and like, you know, we stopped Clever Programmer, he stopped his agencies, and we were technically not doing hard work any of the day. We just felt like we're trying to experiment, come up with new ideas, and we're like, we don't really know if it's gonna work or not. And then eventually like it paid off. There is a matter of luck, but if you try things enough times, you will get lucky. I mean, it's like literally the definition of luck, right? It's just you have a low chance of getting something. So you increase the chance by doing a lot of it. You have to value it. I value the what, and you can see it through my actions. Sometimes I value it even more. I mean, no, I clearly value it way more than hard work. I will take days to learn. I will be learning a lot of the times, and I prioritize it like crazy. Like for example, if I go on a day of learning, I'm like, you know, Nas will be sitting with me, he'll be panicking. He's like, but you gotta go do something, you know? And I'm just like, that's great. And if you have inspiration, go for it. But I'm like, I just genuinely will learn. I will hang up on every call I get. Because the thing is, learning is important, but it's not urgent. So you will generally not do it. Because, for example, if I tell you, hey, video edit is due tomorrow, that's urgent. You're like, fuck, man, I have to do this tomorrow. But in the long run, it's not as important as you coming up with another idea. So the idea is important, but there's no deadline. It's not like Kazi said, if you don't come up with an idea tomorrow, like we won't, like, you know, there's a deadline. And that's what just gives you the ultimate leverage. Holy shit, we covered so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did. Leave a comment with your biggest aha moment. As always, I'll see you in the next video.